RPG Tactics update, and I wanted to let you know that I just did a review on some of my model railroading N-scale buildings and vehicles, and I wanted to continue with a scale comparison, what I'm thinking, what's going on in my mind, and what I'm progressing with. Okay, now as you know, this is already the Drop Zone Commander Cityscape tiles. This is just 2 of them. I wanted to put these down so that you can just get a backdrop. All right, now, first of all, I want to let you know that I've mounted all my 2-scale RPG Tactics mecha on, I think it's called a mat board, so that you'll get a rigid, they won't be folding up and rolling up on me. So I've gotten a few of these on mat board just so I can stand them up next to buildings and vehicles and you can get an idea of scale. Now these are 2-scale according to the scale chart that's on the websites. I want to start off by saying the game says it's going to be in 1/285th scale. 1/285th scale is 6mm. 6mm is Z scale in railroading. So if you wanted to go specifically with Z scale models, you could. They are very small, okay? If you want to go with 1/285th scale, like micro armor buildings, things like that, you can. Those are all going to work with the RPG Tactics. I personally am going up 1 scale. I am going up to the 9mm scale or N scale for model railroad. I can use my N scale railroad tracks, so I can use these. Okay, this is, get the idea. This is an N scale railroad track, and then you'll have your mecha next to the train track, right? Okay, that's awesome. I've got enough of that to cover a 6-foot table. I could go at an angle, maybe not a sharp angle. I've only got about 7 feet of it. So, all right, now I wanted to talk about the difference in the scale in the buildings. I also have, as you know already, I have a bunch of buildings from Drop Zone Commander. Now, Drop Zone Commander buildings, and this table, is in 10mm, okay? This is a 10mm building, and that's where you'd have it. You'd maybe set it off to somewhere like that, so that when you're doing your battling in the city or whatever, you'll have your N-scale buildings, which this building and this road system and everything works just great. But 10mm is, in my opinion, just slightly too big. Not crazily too big, not 15mm, which is crazy, but it's 10mm. Now, 10mm and 9mm, will they work together? Yes, but I will only use these 10mm buildings when I'm trying to do a major battle in a big, huge city, and I'm going to be using tons of buildings. Then I will be using all these buildings that I have from Drop Zone Commander. I'll be using the, I'm going to try to make it look like a major city in this case. Now, if I, like Ontario, Toronto, something like that, is when the SDF-1 went to Canada and they had this big fight in a big, huge city. That's when I might use this. Or if the players in my RPG Tactics RPG are actually playing in a situation where they're in a major city, yeah, then I'm going to use some giant buildings. Otherwise, I'm going to be keeping it a much smaller scale, because Macross Island was the impact of the SDF-1, as everyone knows. And it was 10 years later when the first Entrati, first Robotech War actually began, was 10 years. So the city is not very built up. I mean, it's a huge city, but we're looking at 40,000, 50,000 occupants in the city. Or those are the civilians. So, it's like my hometown. We don't have any skyscrapers. We got some tall buildings, but they're not skyscrapers. Okay. So, based on all the videos that I've seen of Macross Island in the Robotech videos, they are fairly squat buildings. They're not giant buildings. So I might use more buildings like this, the shorter ones, but I still am not going to use those if I have a chance. What I'm going to be using is my some other buildings that I've got. Now let me kind of show you some other buildings that I have. Okay, and I'm gonna have to remount these because I have these mounted on the a base for a game called Spearhead, and I put grass on the bottom, and all I got to do is pop these off of these bases, and then I'll be able to use them in the city without that. Or if I do decide to base them, what I need to do is make those bases more cityscape compatible, and the grass isn't right now. Okay, so there's a well, this was a building from Warhammer 40,000 Epic, right? The Epic scale, which is 6mm. It's micro armor scale, but it was kind of a superheroic 6mm. So these buildings are a little bit big for 6mm. You know, you're looking at a 5-story building. I think that's pretty good. And then you got your mecha running around. It's probably a little out of scale, but you know what? It looks good. It blocks line of sight. Mechs can hide behind it. You know, it's going to be great for, you know, just battling it out around these epic buildings. I think those are pretty cool. And I've got about a dozen of those, various sizes. I've got some that are bigger and some that are smaller. Okay. Now, I have some N-scale buildings. As you know, I've got the supermarket, of course, as you've already seen. But I also have some older N-scale buildings like this. Now, I bought these when I was in Europe a bunch of years ago for a game called Command Decision, but then I started mounting them in these bases that I was talking about for Spearhead, because I play Spearhead in micro armor, but N-scale buildings and micro armor, they're close enough, 6-9mm, that you could still use them, and that's what I was doing. I was using these for my micro armor games, and this is another shop. This is Bad Neuheim, okay, but that's okay. It's still just a building, and imagine this N-scale building floating around with, you know, mecha. Yeah. You know, it's good scale for the mecha. And I've got a ton of these types of buildings. I have, here's one right here, and now these are all European style buildings, and they might not really work well with a Macross setting. The players aren't always going to be on Macross Island. You know, they'll be out doing other things, you know, in other places. So those buildings work. Here's kind of just a brick building, N-scale brick building, you know, works good, like it. Okay, and then I have some rural or industrial type buildings. Like here's a lumber yard. Okay, that stuff really needs to be touched up. It looks more plasticky than lumbery, you know, and there's still dust and all this junk. See that? Awesome, right? Awesome. Yep, I like it. Okay, I've got a bunch of them. I've got tons of those. Now, when you compare them side by side, you know, you've got your supermarket, hypothetically, or you've got your N-scale, your epic building next to it. Not too bad, not too shabby difference-wise. You got your 10mm building, you know, doesn't look too bad. All that together looks really good, because these are all 6, 9, 10mm buildings. They all work together. So, but I'm going to focus more on N-scale than anything else, and use these buildings very sparingly, and then I will use these buildings also very sparingly. Okay, I'm not going to be using these, but well, I probably use these more often than the other ones. I just got to touch them up a little bit because they're too gothic. Another project I'm working on. This is an update. I'm working on the Minmei restaurant. Right, Minmei's Chinese restaurant is an integral part of the story of Robotech, and it was a popular gathering place for pilots and things like that. And Rick Hunter, of course, saved Minmei during the first day of the battle. They became friends, and then she became this pop singer that basically everyone knows and everybody wants. And so that's really another reason why this restaurant became super popular. And I'm in the process of making it. I've started cutting out some mat board. Okay, you can get mat board. I got mat board at Hobby Lobby. It was on sale, $3.99 for a huge pack like this. Actually, there's a couple more sheets because I used them already. But they come in different colors, and you can see that in the review. You know, gold, and that's a fabric actually. And then you got your reds, and there's a variety of different colors in there that you can use. Awesome stuff right here. That's what I used to mount on these to give them a little bit of rigidity. Okay, now I've made this corner restaurant. It actually was on a corner, not this corner, obviously, probably this corner, you know. But it has there's like upstairs windows. It had just a Oriental design. What do they call that? Murano style wood siding on this side, and then it had like a unusually shaped door framed in gold, and that is all going to be painted eventually. Right now all I did was cut out the 4 walls and the roof and a floor to make it super sturdy, and then I put some wood around this edge right here because that was actually on the restaurant. Now this wood will obviously have to be painted white, but yeah, there's going to be like a blue color through there, red slats, and then the gold framed door, and then there's going to be windows, and that's pretty much what the Minmei restaurant looks like. And that's going to go on a city corner right there, you know. It's actually going to go on a corner like this, on a corner like that, because there were other buildings next to the Minmei restaurant, so there were no windows on this side, because there was, hypothetically, let's just show you, something like that, where the restaurant didn't have a window or anything on that side of the building. Now the back side, it's not shown, but there's probably supposed to be a little back door for an alleyway or something like that. That was actually never addressed or shown. So, but we can extrapolate that there's probably a back door. Okay, so I'm working on the Minmei Hotel, or it is a bed and breakfast kind of thing. It's a restaurant, but there are rooms upstairs, and I guess the family lives in the rooms upstairs. I'm going to be starting to use a lot of N-scale model railroading style buildings for terrain. I will be using my Warhammer 40K epic scale buildings as filler, and I got a lot of vehicles. Oh yeah. What am I talking about? I got to show you the vehicles. Okay, now you've already seen the vehicles in the review, but how do they work with the Cityscape road system, right? I didn't even talk about that. Okay, so you got your supermarket right on the city corner or whatever. You got your Minmei restaurant. You know, hypothetically, you've got maybe a shop or two right there. We're gonna throw in a building or two over here. You know, just to kind of give you this whole city look, right? And then you've got your delivery truck right there. You know, it might be on the street when the mecha come running through. You've got somebody waiting to go right there, and then you've got your another delivery truck for. Well, okay, let's move this over a little bit. Let's say we got a delivery truck over here for the supermarket, and we got you know, so like this whole thing right here. These work awesome. You got the garbage truck, you know. Okay, now if I was to have a mecha running around, let's say, giving you the whole illusion, right? All right, see, and so you got this little city scenario right here with the N-scale buildings, N-scale vehicles, and a little bit of something else. Now this was made actually in micro armor size. I think I'm going to up that to N scale because it'll make it a little bit bigger, make it a little bit more enhanced. and more important looking if it's a little bit larger. I don't think I like this scale of micro armor, but I'm debating it. Okay. Thanks for coming out and checking out my progress. I'm getting ready for the imminent release of Robotech RPG Tactics. I really am looking forward to it, and I'm really gearing up my terrain to be able to play the game. So any other updates that I have, I'll be sure to share them with you.